Imagine dedicating nearly a quarter century of your life to building someone else's dream, only to be told, 2 weeks before your 25th anniversary, that you're out, that you no longer matter. I learned that lesson at age 48, after 24 years as an independent, straight commission sales representative for a specialty manufacturing firm. My territory, covering 3 states and a portfolio of blue-chip clients, was my second home. To them, I wasn't just the salesman. I was the go-to guy, the problem solver, the friend, the one who always delivered. Then came the call from the owner. His voice was polite, almost sympathetic. "Ben, we appreciate everything you've done, but we've decided it's time for a change. You've got 2 weeks before your contract ends. No warning, no performance review, pointing to any shortcoming. Just a family-run business pivoting to nepotism. 3 sons working in the office, none with my decades of experience, but all lined up to inherit my hard-won territory." That afternoon, I sat alone in my home office, walls lined with framed letters of commendation, photos of company events, awards from grateful customers. Thinking, 48 years old, specialized expertise, razor-thin job market. What now? The ground beneath me felt like quicksand. There was only one realistic lifeline, a tiny competitor in the same field, so minor they shipped orders out of a converted garage. I dialed their number with a mix of hope and desperation. The owner, let's call him Rick, answered on the second ring. "This is Rick. How can I help?" "Me? Rick? I've got a question. If I could guarantee every one of my customers would follow me, would you have room on your team?" There was a beat of silence, then a hearty laugh. "Rick, Ben, where were you 2 decades ago?" "Absolutely. Come meet me tomorrow." I smiled for the first time all week. By the next morning, my nerves had settled into a determined calm. I dressed in my best business casual, crisp shirt, conservative tie, blazer that had seen a dozen trade shows. My briefcase held nothing but the essentials, contracts, performance summaries, and a list of key client contacts. Everything else was history. Rick's office turned out to be a modest room at the back of a suburban warehouse. A single desk, 2 folding chairs, and walls adorned with faded product posters. Far cry from the polished boardrooms I'd grown accustomed to. Yet, as Rick rose to greet me, I sensed genuine respect in his handshake. "Rick, Ben, welcome. You've got a reputation around here. Folks say you're the best in the business. Tell me how you did it." I laid out my story in crisp bullet points. 1. 24 years of consistent growth, even through recessions. 2. Personal relationships. I called clients on birthdays, sent handwritten thank you notes, and delivered emergency shipments at odd hours. 3. Technical expertise. My clients trusted me to troubleshoot machine breakdowns on site. No call center could compete. Rick listened intently, nodding. At the end, he paused and offered me a seat. "Rick, I've been watching this industry for decades. You're the first person I'd pay a higher commission to. Name your rate." I hesitated. Years of working under fixed splits had taught me caution. But the bitter aftertaste of my old company's betrayals steeled my resolve. "Me, 30% on net sales, upfront advances on new territories, and a company cell phone, because I'll need it on the road." Rick didn't flinch. He tapped a number into his flip phone. "Rick, done. You start Monday. We'll have your phone and territory maps ready by then." 2 days later, a glossy slip of paper arrived. My company issued cellular phone number, a small fuel card, and instructions to make a difference. That Friday, I cleared my desk at the old office. As colleagues murmured farewells, I packed my mementos, photos of annual banquets, plaques from 10, 15, 20-year service awards, into boxes. Everything but one item, the old company cellular phone. Before leaving, I ducked into the supply room, found a quiet corner, and reprogrammed its settings to forward all incoming calls to my new number. That simple act, almost imperceptible, would become the cornerstone of my silent revolution. Walking out that door for the last time, I felt the familiar weight of a briefcase. But this time, it carried not just sales brochures, but the promise of revenge served with a professional's precision. With my new commission agreement signed and that old company phone secretly rigged, I embarked on what I came to think of as a silent coup. Each forwarded ring was a small victory, a ripple of disruption in the empire that had cast me aside. Monday morning, I pulled onto the lot of Rick's small warehouse, fueled equal parts by anticipation and caffeine. The crackle of the two-way radio in my pocket and the gleam of my company phone screen reminded me of my dual allegiance, to my new boss and to a silent pact with karma itself. By 8:30 a.m., I had pulled up my first client's file. Denton Fabricators, a long-standing account that had ordered custom parts every quarter for 15 years. Their president, Mr. Coleman, knew my voice like a handshake. As I dialed the old company number, I could imagine Reynolds's voicemail greeting. "You've reached the desk of Ben Thompson at Apex Components." But on my screen, that call was already routing to my new line. I heard only one ring before Mr. Coleman's familiar voice. "Ben, I was about to call. Need that flange assembly by Wednesday." I smiled, mentally ticking off service orders. Over the next hour, I confirmed delivery schedules, ordered expedited parts, and offered to swing by their plant for an on-site check. Each detail reinforced trust. Meanwhile, Apex Components, my former employer, showed no sign of missing a beat on the surface. But behind closed doors, confusion was mounting. At mid-morning, I checked in with Control Solutions Incorporated, a smaller account that frequently called with last-minute requests. I stepped into a quiet conference room at Rick's place, closed the door, and let the forwarded call connect. On speaker, I heard Mrs. Delgado fume. "Ben, you ghosted us. We've been on hold forever. Who's this new number?" I held my composure, then replied, "Lorena, it's still me. I just switched companies. Had to get out when Apex wouldn't listen. But don't worry, you're now top priority." Her relief was audible. With one conversation, I sealed another account. Meanwhile, at Apex Components, their front office slogged through bewildered customer complaints. "Lost voicemail, no call back. Last time we did business with you." Over the next 2 weeks, the pattern repeated itself. Green Electronics called at odd hours. I answered and scheduled emergency parts. Harbor Marine left messages on the old line. I returned each within minutes. Metro Packaging inquired about price adjustments. I offered improved rates under Rick's leaner overhead. Each interaction reinforced my reputation. Within a month, Rick's company boasted a 40% increase in territory revenue. My old firm, they saw revenue dips of 30% in that same region, enough for the owner's phone to ring off the hook. 6 weeks in, just as I was finalizing a lucrative 6-figure order with North River Fabrication, I felt my personal cell ring. The display read, "Apex Components HQ." I took a deep breath before answering. "Hello. Ben, what have you done? Half my territory is drying up. Clients are complaining I'm unresponsive. Tell me what happened." My thumb hovered over the mute button. Part of me wanted to relish his panic. Another part, the professional inside me, felt a pang of regret. He had been good to me once, after all, but business is business. Rick offered me a better rate and support. I switched. "But if you'd like to win your clients back, I suggest picking up the phone when they call." He stuttered, but I didn't give him a chance to beg. I slipped a phone number across the desk to Mrs. Delgado, prepping her next urgent shipment. As I hung up, I could almost hear the echo of his frustration. Behind the scenes, I maintained a professional veneer. My new company's CRM tracked every forwarded call, flagged priority clients, and auto-generated performance reports, data I used to secure even more resources and ensure seamless service. Meanwhile, Apex attempted to adapt. They redirected old lines to an outsourced call center, clunky and impersonal. They offered discounts, but without my relationship capital, price cuts couldn't replace trust. They reassigned part-time reps, but each hiccup only drove clients back to me. By month's end, Rick asked me to train 2 junior reps on my territory, mapping client preferences, communication styles, and technical quirks. I did so willingly, framing the knowledge transfer as saving time, but every tip ensured those clients stayed with us for good. One afternoon, I slipped out for a coffee break, stepping into a nearby cafe with my old company phone in one pocket and my new one in the other. I watched the steam curl from my cappuccino and thought, anger drove me here, but professionalism sealed my triumph. I realized that true revenge wasn't about sabotage so much as excellence. By being better, faster, more attentive, genuinely invested, I didn't just retaliate. I transcended the petty confines of revenge. By the time midsummer rolled around, the momentum I'd built was an unstoppable tide. Every forwarded call had become a testament to what true customer care looked like: rapid responses, personalized solutions, and that human touch my old firm had forgotten. Word travels fast in tight-knit industries. I began hearing snippets from new contacts. At Crestline Packaging, their operations manager, Dana, mentioned in passing, "Your name keeps coming up, and not with Apex." An old acquaintance at Valley Machining, Carlos, confessed, "I tried reaching Apex 3 times last week. No luck. Ben, where have you been?" Each anecdote reinforced the gap I'd created. Not one disgruntled whisper made its way to my office door unheeded. I chronicled these stories obsessively, each a line in a growing narrative of reputation reborn. While most reactions were predictable relief and gratitude, some surprises emerged. Loyalty Bonus, a small manufacturer, O'Connell Metalworks, offered a referral bonus when they introduced a partner firm, an unexpected perk I'd never considered. Industry buzz. During a regional conference, Rick and I overheard 2 competitors speculating. He must have insider intel. No one bounces back that fast. I grinned at Rick, who whispered, "Let them wonder." Vendor relationships. With my track record, suppliers offered extended credit terms and exclusive early access to limited-run parts, another feather in Rick's cap. These side effects illuminated how reputation begets opportunity. What began as a quiet coup unfolded into a full-blown reshaping of the competitive landscape. At Apex, the owner grappled with dwindling revenues. I heard through the grapevine. They reassigned a senior rep to our region, someone unfamiliar with the client's histories. They sent out "We miss you" postcards, but a postcard can't replace a phone call answered in minutes. They launched an offer, 20% off your next order. But price wasn't the issue, service was. One afternoon, I spotted the senior rep, Thomas, trying to navigate Denton Fabricator's sprawling plant. He looked out of place, clipboard in hand, while production lines hummed behind security gates. I caught his eye, gave a polite nod, and continued to Mr. Coleman's office where I'd scheduled an afternoon troubleshooting session. Late one sweltering July day, I found myself back at Apex's headquarters, this time for a client presentation I'd been invited to because of my reputation. Rick had asked me to accompany him. He wanted me to demonstrate the new company's capabilities at a joint meeting with a prospective client who'd gone dark with both firms. We entered a sleek conference room where the owner sat, flanked by 2 of his sons, each wearing masks of forced composure. "Mr. Thompson, we're evaluating vendors. We'd like to hear what you propose." He gestured toward the slides. Generic pricing, standard timelines. Then Rick stepped aside and I took over. "Gentlemen, let's talk specifics. I've served clients like yours for decades. Here's what you need." I outlined a tailored service plan, laughter lines at appropriate moments, confidence in every statistic. By the end, the prospect turned to Apex's owner and said, "We'll need a guarantee of responsiveness. Mr. Thompson, can you commit to 24-hour support?" The owner swallowed and glanced at his sons. No answer. I took over and replied immediately, "Absolutely. Call anytime. We'll be on it before you hang up." The client shook my hand. As we left, I heard one son mutter, "I should have listened to Dad sooner." The next morning, I slipped into my favorite roadside cafe. My two phones rested on the table, old and new, like silent partners in crime. I sipped my latte and reflected. They say revenge is a dish best served cold, but it's sweeter when served with unparalleled service. I pulled out a small notebook and jotted. Total forwarded calls, 243. New revenue, plus 42% territory growth. Apex revenue dip, minus 33% YOY. Numbers didn't lie. They told a story more powerful than any letter of complaint. The summer sun had begun to wane, and leaves hinted at the coming fall when the final showdown arrived, not in a courtroom, but over the phone and in hushed office corridors. It was a brisk Wednesday morning when my personal cell buzzed again with Apex Components HQ on the screen. By now, I'd learned to steel myself for these calls. Hello. I answered. Ben, I don't know what to say. Half my clients left overnight. My revenues cratered. How does one man cause this much damage? I paused, the weight of his words settling in. He'd built his business from scratch. Yes, but by sidelining loyalty for nepotism, he'd undone decades of goodwill. I considered my response. You taught me one principle. A promise kept is worth more than any equipment supplier. Yet, when your sons couldn't pick up the phone, you broke that trust. His silence spoke volumes. I could almost hear him calculating. Should he beg for return business or watch his empire crumble? A week later, the owner requested a meeting at the very showroom where I'd once pitched high-end systems. I arrived early, my heart thudding with anticipation. He greeted me in the glass-walled conference room, flanked by his three sons, each wearing pressed shirts and uneasy expressions. Ben, thanks for coming. I want to understand. Why spare me a formal lawsuit or slander when you could have? He asked, his eyes fixated on me. I laid out my case. Betrayal of trust. I invested 24 years into your brand's promise. You invested in family over merit. A loss of clients. Your silence cost you. Every forwarded call was a message. If you won't answer, someone else will. Professional ethics. I acted within my rights. No hacking, no theft. Only transparency and performance. At each point, I watched their faces shift from defensiveness to regret. His eldest son, Mark, spoke up. Dad, I thought loyalty meant family first. His voice trembled. I turned and said to him, loyalty means consistency, Mark. Your father didn't just fire me. He fired every promise he made to those clients. Silence stretched. The owner drummed his fingers on the glass table. What do you want from me? He asked. I leaned forward, locking eyes with him. Then I replied, no legal fees, no retribution. Just this, an apology you can actually act on. Reconnect with those clients. Show up for your commitments. He exhaled, tension easing. You'll have it. I'll personally call each and apologize. He gestured to his sons. Take notes. This is how business works. I nodded. The room felt lighter, like a storm passing. Justice had been met, not through courts, but through accountability. In the weeks that followed, I watched through industry channels as Apex's owner publicly embarked on a redemption tour. Personal apologies recorded on video and shared with major clients. Service guarantees reinstated, with family members replaced by professional reps. A customer appreciation event where he thanked clients for sticking by us and highlighted the dangers of taking trust for granted. Word reached me that he regained about 20% of his lost business, proof that genuine remorse and action can heal even deep wounds, though some scars remained. One evening, back at my home office, I looked at my two phones side by side, the old one now a relic, the new one humming with opportunity. I thought, sometimes the biggest victories come not from crushing an opponent, but from giving them a chance to rebuild. I drafted a quick email to Rick. Subject, client rebound. Body, he's on a redemption path, 20% back. Rest is ours. Thanks for letting me lead the charge. Rick replied instantly, you're the best there is. Now let's finish this year strong. The fallout from my silent takeover didn't fade with summer's end. It roared through every corner of the industry, setting new rules for loyalty and leaving a legend wherever that old company phone number rang. 3 weeks after I signed equity papers with Rick, the old Apex line lit up at 2:17 a.m. I recognized the cadence of the ringtone and grabbed the handset. "Ben, it's Carla at North River Fabrication. I'm in crisis. Orders got mixed, and our production line is down." Within an hour, I'd rerouted trucks, brokered emergency parts, and calmed a roomful of plant managers. By sunrise, Carla's team toasted me over steaming coffee and donuts. Word of that all-nighter spread faster than any sales flyer ever could. At a winter workshop, I crossed paths with Miles, a fresh-faced rep from Apex who'd been thrown into my old territory. He cornered me by the catering table. "I've been hearing your calls on that number. I know it's you. Teach me how you flipped the script." I saw in his eyes both anxiety and hunger for real skill. Over the next hour, I sketched a battle plan on napkins, relationship mapping, rapid callbacks, micromanaging every order. By the meeting's end, Miles shook my hand, determination shining. "I'll never make the same mistakes my boss did." That moment proved that true impact outlives any single deal. It plants seeds of change in the next generation. One afternoon, at a regional conference keynote, Rick dragged me on stage after praising our quarterly growth, up 58% in our region. The crowd roared. Then Rick held up a tablet showing Apex's own public earnings, down 35%. All thanks to Ben's strategy and one very special device. I stepped forward, voice carrying across the hall. Revenge doesn't require violence or lawsuits. It thrives on being better, faster, more reliable, unbreakably consistent. The applause wasn't just for revenue lines. It was for the smart, surgical strike that became a case study in turning betrayal into breakthrough. On my 25th anniversary in sales, I stood at my home office desk and stared at the two phones, old and new, side by side. With a single swipe, I deactivated the call forwarding feature on the old line. It rang once, twice, and then went silent. In that pause, I realized the story had come full circle. What began as a covert weapon returned to rest, its purpose fulfilled. That old phone now collects dust, but every office, every forum, still buzzes with tales of the guy who flipped a company with a single device. My question is, what would you have done if you held the handset? Have you ever turned an unfair firing into your greatest opportunity? Maybe the answer will tell whether I was wrong or right. But for now, I live life, not ruined.